After his spaceship crash lands on an uncharted planet, a pilot and his one surviving passenger must travel across the prehistoric land to find a way home. 65 million years before humankind's existence, on the distant, technologically advanced planet Somaris, pilot Mills discusses his new job with his wife by the beach. He hesitates to tell their daughter Nevine, as the space expedition will take 2 years. However, his wife convinces him to tell Nevine since they need the money to fund their daughter's medical treatment. Meanwhile, Nevine is by the water practicing how to whistle using her hands when she has a coughing fit. Alarmed, Mills approaches his daughter, but she says she's fine and asks him to teach her how to whistle. Mills tries to instruct her when Nevine reveals she already knows that he's leaving. Mills assures her that it's to raise money for her treatment and hugs his daughter. A year later, on the return journey to Somaris, Mills is asleep in his cabin, leaving the ship on autopilot. Suddenly, he's jolted awake when a mass of asteroids hits the spacecraft, and he runs back to his station. Mills quickly navigates through the asteroid belt, but the damage to the ship causes him to crash land on a nearby planet. As he passes out, Mills envisions Nevine, who asks him if he's scared. Soon, Mills awakens, removes a piece of shrapnel embedded in his stomach, and quickly cauterizes it. He then dons his spacesuit and discovers that the ship's been severed in half, and his passengers have all been compromised. Mills arms himself and steps outside to search for the others, but he slips into the water when the ramp topples. Meanwhile, a dinosuchus swims onto the surface for a split second and disappears as soon as Mills turns around. He then sees his crew's bodies strewn about the swamp, horrified to discover they all perished during the crash. Minutes later, Mills returns to the ship, where he jumpstarts the central systems to determine his location and finds out he's on an uncharted planet, which is revealed to be Earth 65 million years ago. When he sends a distress beacon detailing his dire situation, he notes that the air on the planet is breathable. After recording his message, Mills spots his rifle and contemplates ending his life. He goes outside and prepares to shoot himself when he remembers his daughter. He instantly loosens his grip on his rifle and breathes to steady himself. Mills goes back to the cockpit and watches Nevine's video messages when the computer picks up a passenger's life signal nearby. The pilot rushes outside to locate the survivor when he steps on eggshells that have recently hatched. Startled, he looks around, but decides to move forward when he sees a cryogenic pod ahead. Mills quickly opens it by shooting the latch and takes the passenger out. Mills carries the girl to the spacecraft when he comes across a massive footprint on the ground. He starts to panic as a roar resonates in the distance. Later, Mills dreams of Nevine asking where he is when he wakes up and sees it's morning. Before going to the cockpit, he checks on the child, who pretends to be asleep. Mills tries to scan for the escape vessel's location, but the system can't detect it. Later, Mills heads out to check the area and stumbles upon a dinosaur skeleton. A geyser suddenly bursts, causing Mills to fall. Then he spots something glimmering in the distance. He then uses his scanning device to check and learns that it's the escape vessel he's been looking for. Mills goes to the cliff face to gauge the pod's distance when a velociraptor attacks him from below. He grabs his rifle to knock it off him and repeatedly strikes the dinosaur until it stops moving. Cautious, Mills prods at it when the velociraptor suddenly snarls one last time before dying. Mills walks back to the ship and hears a branch cracking and sees that the child has followed him. She quickly flees, so Mills chases after her, but they both slip and slide down the hill, where they see a decomposing ankylosaurus carcass. Mills grabs her and runs when they hear loud footsteps approaching. They return to the spaceship, where Mills repeatedly tries to ask for the child's name, but she doesn't answer. He searches the passenger logbook and learns that she's Koa, and her parents died during the crash. As he tends to Koa's injury, he tries explaining their situation, but realizes she can't understand him due to their differing languages. To make matters worse, his translator's also broken. However, in an attempt to make her make sense of their predicament, Mills spreads red spice all over the table and draws on it, explaining that their ticket home is the escape vessel on the mountain. Koa understands the word home and draws 2 stick figures, leading Mills to lie that her family is up there, so she'll agree to come with him. Mills then sends a message stating Koa's alive and informs them of his plan to use the escape vessel to evacuate the planet. Meanwhile, Koa returns to Mills' quarters, where she finds finds Nevine's video messages and watches them. However, the pilot walks in and turns it off before leading Koa to the mess hall to prepare for the journey. Later, as the pair head out, Mills sees Koa struggling to jump off a log. He tries to help her get down, but she accidentally falls. He checks if she's alright, and when he sees that she is, he continues on his way. As Koa gets up, she notices an asteroid in the sky, but pays it no mind. Koa then grabs berries and chucks them at Mills, when he suddenly stops in his tracks. She quickly hides the berries, but sees that he's continued walking. She throws another one, but Mills turns around to catch it. He then runs the berries through his device and learns they're poisonous, so he informs Koa not to ingest the fruit. Moments later, a large insect lands on Mills' nape, which he quickly swats to a pulp and attempts to wipe the gunk on a tree. Unfortunately, his hand sticks to the bark, so he forcefully pries it off and ends up falling onto the ground, with the bark still stuck to his hand. Koa laughs at his predicament, but quickly stops when Mills side-eyes her, before throwing the bark away. He then playfully tries to chase her with his sticky hand, when a tree suddenly snaps and falls. They then hear a cry, and the pair run toward the source. Up ahead, Koa sees that a baby Tyrankylosaurus is stuck in the mud and helps it, much to Mills' annoyance. However, he decides to help her, and they manage to free the creature. As the baby Tyrankylosaurus walks away, it's suddenly attacked by a pack of vicious little dinosaurs. Koa screams in horror as the dinosaur is devoured. The predators note their presence, so Mills grabs Koa and they hide behind a tree. As the dinosaurs are about to check further, they're alerted by a loud sound and run away. Seeing that the coast is clear, Mills admonishes the girl. Later, they hike towards a waterfall where they rest for a few minutes. He hands her water to drink and instructs her to refill the canister carefully. As Koa is getting water, he remembers Nevine and turns away. Koa then returns with a flower she plucked by the river and tries to place it on his ear, but he refuses. Moments later, Mills wears the flower on his ear, much to Koa's delight. His device then notifies him that it's lost the navigation signal, so Mills climbs up a tree to reconnect. Mills reaches the top and scans the area, when large ants crawl up his hand. Shocked, he tries to shake them off, but the branch breaks, causing him to fall hard on his shoulder, dislocating it. Koa rushes to help him, but he brushes her off and tries to pop it back into place by slamming himself into the tree. Koa then hears a snarl and informs Mills. The pair then see two dinosaurs approaching menacingly, so Mills orders Koa to step on his arm to pop his shoulder back in its socket. After regaining his arm movement, Mills quickly kills one dinosaur, but more emerge. The pilot tells Koa to flee, so she runs to the beach to hide. However, Koa realizes she stumbled onto a flock of Zungaripterus feeding, and slowly crawls behind the log to avoid them. Meanwhile, Mills continues fending off the bloodthirsty reptiles. Two of them escape to the beach and spot Koa. They're about to pounce, but Mills shoots them in the nick of time and saves her. However, one remaining dinosaur drags Koa away, but releases her when Mills chases after it. He turns around to check on Koa, but realizes she's gone. Scared she's been taken again, Mills searches for her and finally finds the girl cowering behind a boulder. He tries to comfort her, but Koa, still reeling from the shock, moves away from him. Mills understands and decides to wait for her to calm down. Later, Mills whistles using his hand, and Koa notices. She turns around to face him and tries doing the same thing. When he sees that she's calmed down, he asks if they can continue on their journey, and she affirms. Soon, they make camp behind a waterfall cave opening, where Mills has set up a perimeter fence. Koa points to the stars, so Mills decides to show her the map to Somaris. When he sees a notification about an approaching asteroid, he goes to the entrance for a better signal, but the system can't gather more data about it. Koa then hands him Nevine's video messages for him to play, but he refuses, much to her disappointment. However, Mills changes his mind and plays it. As soon as Koa sleeps, he turns it off and cries, remembering Nevine's death. Soon, Mills is awoken by the perimeter alarm and hears massive footsteps approaching them. He then sees Koa foaming at the mouth and finds a parasite lodged inside the orifice. Mills lures it out and kills it, saving the girl's life. They then hear a screech behind them, so they step back toward the waterfall. However, they sense something amiss and are horrified to see a T-Rex emerging from the waterfall. The pair then quickly flee to the cave to look for another way out. Meanwhile, an oviraptor stalks them. Later, they find themselves at a dead end, but hear wind through the cracks. Mills finds the narrow passageway and attempts to dig out the rocks. However, the pilot realizes it's futile and stops, but Koa tells him to keep going because her family is waiting for her. Consumed by guilt, Mills tells her the truth, but unfortunately, she doesn't understand what he's saying and tries to dislodge the rocks herself. He suddenly remembers his bombs and uses one to clear the tunnel. Afterward, he hands some of the bombs to Koa before they crawl inside the passage. Koa makes it to the end, but the shaft suddenly collapses, separating the pair. Horrified, Mills calls out to Koa and is relieved to hear her whistling. Mills then goes back the way he came, while Koa crawls out the other end. As Mills' flashlight loses power, the stalking oviraptor tries to bite him, but quickly hides. Mills readies himself, goes by the water, and hears a rhythmic tapping noise near it. He uses his device to locate the dinosaur, but discovers it's been standing behind him all along. The creature attacks, causing him to fall and lose his rifle. Mills tries to crawl towards his weapon, but the oviraptor drags him away. However, he manages to kick the dinosaur and grab his device to emit a high-pitched noise. Mills then kills the disoriented oviraptor. Outside, Koa hears a sound from a distance, so she grabs a dinosaur bone and covers it with a poison berry juice before placing it in her bag. As Mills emerges from the cave, his device finally detects the irregularity as a catastrophic asteroid hurtling towards Earth. The pilot then searches for Koa. Meanwhile, Koa hides behind a bush and spots a claw on a nearby tree. However, the velociraptor senses her and attacks, prompting her to scream. Mills hears Koa's cries and makes his way towards her, but gets stuck in quicksand. Koa runs to a log and crawls inside it to lure the dinosaur. The velociraptor chases after her, and she quickly escapes through the other end and seals the opening. Now that she's trapped the creature, Koa drops the bombs inside, effectively ending its life. Meanwhile, Mills screams for Koa as he sinks further and is fully submerged in the quicksand. Koa arrives just in time and bends a tree branch, which he uses to pull himself out. Relieved to see Koa uninjured, Mills embraces the girl and thanks her for saving him. Mills then explains that the mass of asteroids that hit their ship is part of a larger asteroid that'll strike the planet within 12 hours. Later that night, the pair arrive at a steep mountain face. Mills hoists Koa up and orders her to tie a rope to something strong that can hold his weight. Moments pass, and Mills starts to panic when he hears a roar from a distance. Mills calls out to Koa just as she drops the rope to him. As he climbs up, he's surprised to see the rope cartoonishly entangled around a tree, which she secured. The pair reach the other half of the ship, and Mills turns it on and learns that a rescue team is on the way. Meanwhile, Koa searches for her parents and stumbles upon their broken cryogenic pods and discovers that they're dead. Mills comes up to her and tries to explain, but Koa is furious that he lied to her. Mills then opens up about losing Nevine, who died while he was away, and promises Koa he'll get her home. As they hug, they see that the asteroid collision is imminent. They board the escape vessel, just as the asteroid's debris causes the shuttle to fall from the cliff and land upside down on the ground below. A passing T-Rex suddenly attacks their ship, and Mills sees that his rifle's been thrown out of the vessel during the fall. The pilot unbuckles himself and rushes for his weapon, but realizes its batteries run out. Another T-Rex appears, and Mills runs to hide, but the creatures spot him. Meanwhile, Koa sees that the two dinosaurs are fighting over Mills and projects Nevine's video message to distract them. Mills manages to recharge his rifle and kills one, but the other dinosaur deduces their ploy and attacks the vessel, causing it to turn right side up. Mills then shoots the T-Rex dead until he runs out of ammo. However, another quadrupedal T-Rex appears, and Mills orders Koa to launch the ship while he distracts it. He runs in the other direction, but injures his leg in the process. Mills then leads the T-Rex to the geyser field and jumps over the opening, but the blast misses the dinosaur. Furious, the creature stalks Mills, but Koa appears and stabs the dinosaur's eye with a poisonous weapon she prepared earlier. Injured, Undeterred, the T-Rex staggers back until his torso is directly above the geyser. When the creature receives the full impact of the steam blast, it finally perishes. Moments later, the pair return to the ship and launch into space, just as the asteroid crashes into Earth, wiping out 75% of all life, including the dinosaurs. Relieved, Mills reminisces about Nevine while Koa holds his hand, and the two share a smile.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.